Today on the podcast, we are talking about whose kingdom is it? Is it yours, someone else's, or something altogether different? I know it sounds mysterious, and that's how we're going to keep it. Frame My Inc. podcast starts right about now. Get your mind right. Get your mind right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Frame My Inc. podcast. It's your boy Simbawi Nibai Jr., aka TK, along with man Omar Williams. We call him O, and Denise Obi. We call her D Nice. Y'all say what's up to the peeps.
What's up, good people?
Hello, hello, hello.
It is another lovely Wednesday morning, and y'all know how we do. We get things started and popping. But before we do, it's Affirmation Wednesday, and we'll get our affirmations in and out the way. So if you got it memorized, written down, or however you got it done, let's get it going real quick so we can get the day started. Are you ready? Here we go. Today will be a good day. Today will be a great day. Today will be an awesome day. Today will be an amazing day. Today will be stress-free. Today will be a phenomenal day. Today, it will be a stress-less day. Today, I will overcome all barriers that want to block my progress. Today, all circumstances, issues, and situations will work in my favor. Today, all things will line up for my good. Today, I'll become better than who and what I was yesterday. I am a go-getter. I am victorious. I am triumphant. I am an overcomer. I never lose. I either win or I learn. I take authority over this day. I will dominate this day. I will conquer this day. And everything I have spoken into this day will happen as I have affirmed, because I am more than a conqueror. Let's get it started. So today we talked about, or the title of today's podcast is Whose Kingdom Is It? And I'm sure you're probably wondering what that topic is and what we're talking about. So we're just going to jump right in and talk about it. So as most of you, or all of you who are Frame My Mind Inc. podcast listeners know, that myself, Denise, and Omar are believers in the Messiah. And so we probably don't talk about it a whole lot on our show, but it does get mentioned here and there. And today we're talking about music of the kingdom. Music of the kingdom. And I'm going to throw this question out here right from the get-go, and I'm going to let Omar and Denise jump right into the water and start treading. So my question I have is the music that is being presented, created, that is supposedly in the genres that we have created, Christian music, gospel music, and whatever in between that we may call it, is it really helping? Is it really giving glory to where it's supposed to, or is it kind of seem like it may be giving glory to someone or something else, or something entirely different? What are your thoughts on that? And what say ye?
This is
Just
right,
threw you right in the water.
Deep one.
You want to go, Denise, or
I'll
want
let
me
you
to
go
go?
first.
All right, okay,
Go
all right,
first.
all right. So here's my thing. I believe that both things are true. I think some of it is glorifying something it shouldn't be, and some of it is glorifying the Most High. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like it just depends on how it's being presented. Certain beats used, right? Like certain beats sound familiar to other things we may know, right? Wording, right? Like wording that, can be kind of crossover-ish, but no, we're talking about the Lord, but no, I really don't know that. But it sounds like you are, but I'm not sure.
Mm.
So I believe both things are happening. I think I wouldn't say that the people that are trying to cross over or play this role of like not um not necessarily saying Jesus Christ or using the word God, like I wouldn't say that they're uh serving the devil either, or if it's working or not. I don't know. I don't I wouldn't say it's not working, but it doesn't help me out. I'll just put it that way. I'll just speak personally. So I think both things are happening. I think depending on the type of music it can help. But even if this is my last opinion I'm gonna make, even if it's certain types of rap, it can say Jesus Christ throughout the whole thing. But if that beat sounds like a beat that I heard on the radio of a Future record or a Drake record, my brain thinks Drake. My brain thinks Future. While he could be saying Jesus Christ throughout the whole song, my brain and spirit are thinking of the other song. So I don't know if that helps. You know what I mean? So well, that's my that threw us out there to the deep.
Yeah, I would have to say I agree. I think it's both, but I think there's also that thin line that's kind of being crossed sometimes with music, especially gospel music. And yes, we are trying to reach the lost. Yes, we are trying to reach the people, but then you have some artists who are working with secular artists or are saying things in their music, and then say a Christian like so kindly says something about it or like calls them out on it. They're like, "Oh, you're not a Christian. You're judging me." And it's kind of like, well, I'm not here to judge you, but at the same time, it's like, where is that line? Where is that boundary that we have? And I think that's why gospel music is kind of going too far sometimes. But in all, and the good part of it is though is that it is reaching enough the audience that it wants to reach sometimes, especially with like Christian rap. Like I'm a big fan of Lecrae, and for years he has moments where I'm like, let's talk about that. But I think like he's trying to do it. He's trying to reach that audience, and he has done it. I mean, he's worked with secular artists and secular producers. People have agreed with him, people have not, but at the same time, he's trying to reach that audience, and I mean, he's doing it. But you can do it, and you also got to know where that line is, and are you gonna cross that line, and what are you going to do to stay within the boundary of representing Christ, or are you representing the world?
Mm. Two very interesting comments. I'll say this, and I guess I'll say this to both of you guys' comments all in one. Number one, it's interesting that you bring up the topic or subject of collaborating with secular artists, right?
Right.
So this has been happening for some decades now, right? And I'm not going to say who started it because I probably don't know. Maybe just in my generation, I kind of learned it, but have seen it done in the mid to late 90s, right? It might have happened before then. I don't know. So I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. But it's interesting that there are some artists who in the industry, meaning the gospel Christian industry, who say, hey, if this particular secular artist wants to give glory to the Most High by doing this gospel song, Christian song, then hey, I'm for it. Because I'm trying not to get like too like biblical on us here, but I guess if we're talking about, I guess we got to, right?
You have to.
Scripture says, let everything that has breath praise the Lord, right?
Yep.
So there is no specifics like, hey, well, you got to be this in order to praise him, right? So I get that aspect of it. At the same time, I get what people say, well, you're collaborating with a secular artist who clearly their music is opposed to the kingdom of heaven, right? So I get both aspects. My thing is this too, is that if it's happening, if it's going on, are you being an influence on them or are they being an influence on you? And that's a question we can leave to the masses. And so we could say it's wrong or it's right or whatever, but I think when it's all said and done, who is influencing who when it's all said and done, right?
Mhm.
Then you have the aspect of, is the music that you're doing and producing and creating, is it glorified? Is it bringing glory to the Most High? Or is it bringing glory to you? Like, are we doing music that you like and feel and makes you feel good? Or is it really reaching people and glorifying the Most High? I think that there are times when the line is blurred because, like O said, there's certain beats, certain rhythms, certain chord progressions that you hear, and you're like, oh, I heard that song before. It's like, oh, that song was from so-and-so here.
Yeah.
And when you hear this particular song or melody, you're not thinking about the words that they're putting in place of that particular song. You hear the song in its originality form, right? And so changing the words of it, it's great. It's wonderful. And it gives good music.
Yes.
But I think you can question if you're really being ministered to from a light perspective, or are you being ministered to from a darkness perspective? And so for me, it's not difficult for me, but it's just like, man, I'm like, we serve this huge creator that has endless bounds of creation to doing something new. And again, not judging at all. It's just, man, like sampling, for instance, right? A lot of sampling out there, right?
Lots.
All artists. And let's be honest, from a musical standpoint, I mean, there are only so many chord progressions you can make on something before you actually sound like somebody else, right?
Right.
But when you purposefully actually be like, hey, I'm taking the entire song, the entire sample. It's like, all right, I get what you're coming from. I get what you're trying to do. Hopefully it's working. And if it's not, you may have to change up your game to make it actually work. So I think those are a couple aspects to look at from that standpoint too. So the next question I have, and if you guys have anything else to say on that, let me know before I move on.
No, we can go.
Okay. So my next question, or should I say statement, is we have this genre category of Christian / CCM music or contemporary Christian music. And then you have what we have, which is called gospel music. Now, if we're being openly honest, and then there's those in between, but if we're being openly honest, most of our Christian / CCM music is more of our Caucasian brothers and sisters, right?
Yeah.
But the gospel is more geared and more tailored towards our African American brothers and sisters, right? So then you have this in between where, like, it's not Christian or CCM and it's not gospel. It's like a in between mix, right? And so, me personally, I'm not saying I'm right, but I would like to see the category either say something like kingdom worship music or worship music in general, something like that, to kind of be like, hey, like, we're all doing or creating the same music, just different types of forms of music, but it's all geared towards one thing. It's not like we're separating it. But again, that's how, man has done things. And so I'm not faulting anyone, but that's just how I would like to see it. But again, I'm not saying I'm right. What would you like to see when it comes to the quote separation of Christian / CCM music, and then there's gospel music? Is there something you want to see different happen? Is it fine the way it is? Or does there need to be a change to kind of, and then all you have all your in between? Because let's not be, we have now, urban gospel. Then there's like, urban worship. And then there's we have, your, Hispanic, gospel, or your Hispanic CC. So it's like all the in betweens. Is there anything you want to see different? Is it fine the way it is, or something else?
I believe this. As long as it's being sold, they're going to categorize it. It makes it easier for the consumer to know what they're buying. I don't think it has nothing to do with it. I don't think it's like a plan to separate or anything. I think it's like a supermarket. There's a bread aisle, there's a cereal aisle, there's oodles and noodle aisle, there's hot dogs, you know what I mean?
Right.
I think they do Christian contemporary, gospel, urban Christian, correct me if I'm wrong. Is it a whole genre in itself of that is it what's the sound called? It's not Bethel. What's that sound called?
Like the elevation and all.
It's out west, out the West Coast. It's a church.
I forget what you're talking about.
Everybody does it though. Like it's.
But I can't remember.
A lot of worship. A lot of worship and like you.
Yeah.
And mainly like our white counterparts, like they sing it. You know what I mean? I don't even know what to call it, but it's a genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a genre, and it's great. I'm not knocking it at all. It's great, but they slice everything up for business. I just believe that. I think if you put it all in one gumbo, you may turn off a brother like me who might want to hear some clapping of the hands and some
right
and some you know how we give it up. So I might turn away from it if you put it all in one pot. So I don't have a problem with them like organizing it in a way where it's dividing each genre and each type. Because even like I'm a big hip hop guy.
Mm.
When I was growing up, I didn't like Christian hip hop because I felt like it sounded like elementary rap. But nowadays, I don't know if you listen or like you hear these guys now, it's like it is amazing to me. Like these guys can really rap, you know what I mean? So if you put that in the pot with all of that, if I'm looking for that, I want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't mind it. I think everything's fine how it is. And again, as long as it's being sold, they're going to slice it up like a pizza.
So before you go, Denise, I'm going to just clarify for everybody what Omar is saying. Basically, what he's saying is the gospel rap from back in the day was corny. Okay,
it was corny. Yes, it was. I was trying to be nice, young brother. It was corny.
Listen, I'm not a big hip hop rap person. Now, don't get me wrong. I like it. I'm just not. It's not what I gravitate to, but I like it. Don't get me wrong. And listen, I can vouch for that early 90s, gospel rap that came out. Number one, because it was so new, it was everybody was like, oh man, we got gospel rap now. And it was kind of like, but then when you if you were in the game heavy, you were kind of like, man, that ain't no rap. I don't know what that is. But for those who weren't in the game and it came out, I was like, oh, we got something we can listen to now that's a little more quote unquote hip. So I get it. But I also think too, what O was saying, that the guys, the artists now, they actually, yes, they have the gift and the talent to actually rap.
They can rap.
Then there are a number of them, maybe not all, but a number of them that are actually saying something.
Yes.
And not just giving you mumbo jumbo and just trying to be the latest, this and that just to catch your ear and to have you, buy a record. So go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, I say I definitely like the split of the genres of the types of music. And I think also it gives people who they're used to contemporary worship, but they may hear Hillsong and Lecrae do a joint together. And it's like, wait, this is actually nice. I might I might start searching Lecrae and, listen to his music. Because then if you jumble it into one, then it's kind of like, well, what is different here? We're all just mixing this up. And this is not what I want to listen to. I remember when I really was getting into gospel rap, I was a big Cross Movement fan. And you couldn't tell me anything different about them. And even when they were around, people in the church were like, this is not gospel. What is this? Yeah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, he's quoting the whole book of Psalms 23. Like, that's gospel right there. But, just to have that breaking away of genres, help, because then I could tell my 60-year-old aunt, hey, this is Cross Movement. You may not like it, but I like it. It's attracting me and pulling me back into the church because, okay, there's someone catering to what I like to do or what I like to listen to, versus you may want to be BB and CC Winans, who, don't get me wrong, they're cool and all, but sometimes I kind of need something upbeat to get me through my day and not Go Tell It on the Mountain at the time. So yeah.
And this is Go Tell It on the Mountain from a rap version, right? There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
So I get what y'all are saying, and this
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. Now, my only sub question is, what if it, and this is just for conversation, like what if it was, kingdom worship music, and then there were subcategories for that genre? It was like, okay, here's the rap section, here's the Latino section, here's the the CCM section. Like, what if they was done that way? Like, would that still be, hey, it's all under one genre, but then you have the subgenres underneath? You can still kind of pick from which one you like, or would you rather just leave it the way it is now?
Yeah, don't touch
She's
it.
saying no. She's saying it right now.
Don't
I like
touch
the
it, don't touch it.
separation, because then
All
if you do it in one of kingdom worship music, say if you have like somebody, a 22-year-old you just met on the street, and they're like, okay, I can't necessarily relate to somebody my 7-year-old grandmother could relate to. All right. And they're like, kingdom worship music, why would I click on that? Versus
Right.
like they could go into hip hop and R&B or hip hop and rap and say, okay, I like this guy, Andy Mineo, or I like this guy, KB. Oh, he's saying some real stuff. And because he picked on this other genre, he was able to not just see like Drake or Rod Wave, but he was able to see like Canton Jones, or he was able to see KB. So you definitely want to separate it.
D-Nice dropping knowledge, man.
Dropping the
Dropping knowledge. And also calling out gospel rap artists. I have no idea who they are. So
What?
I don't know about KB.
No, I said some. I said
KB?
some. I know who KB is. All right.
Yes.
I don't know who KB.
All right, I'm gonna send you some KB.
Nice. Put up on KB. All right, put him up on it.
Yes.
Now, here's my thing. I did like what you said about how you take like KB on it, and then it's like you got a whole different feel for a song.
Right.
Like I do like those. Like those I actually get down with them. Like I can hear the original song, and then I can also get the new version of the song all in one. So I do like that. So that's pretty cool. Last thing I'm going to say is this: is from a church standpoint. I'll let you guys answer for yourselves, and then all of you out there in listening land can answer for yourselves as well. When you're looking for a church home or a church to go to, what are you drawn to first? And then the second part of that question is, if it's music, what are you looking for in the music because listen, music plays a huge part in our church gatherings, right? So, and it plays a huge part in our lives in general. But when you're looking or going to a church, what are you looking for first? And if it's not music, what are you looking for in that music to maybe either draw you in more or to keep you there or whatever it may be? Not negating the actual teaching of what's being taught, from the pulpit, the sermon. We all know that, but we're talking about music today, so we want to just keep that subject. So, what do you guys look for when it comes to that?
I think it was so. For me personally, it was stages in my walk, right? So, like in the beginning, when I first got saved, I didn't really know anything. So a nice energetic praise and a nice song, like just the song itself was enough to like draw me in. You know what I mean? And that was in the beginning. And then when like worship, like when what we call worship, when when everybody, hands in the air and in the beginning days, I'm kind of standing there like not knowing what to do, right? Just with the little rock back and forth, kind of eyes closed, act like I'm praying or something. You know what I'm saying? This is as the beginning days, but as I grew and kind of learned more and understood it, actually like worship, like it does attract me. Like it has to, like a church to me, like that's an attractive thing that a church would have, like good worship where I can go in almost where like the worship, I don't even need to teach it after that if it's good enough. Like God has spoken to me on my issue, you know what I'm saying? I got it in worship. I'm on the ground or whatever, however you worship. I'm crying. I got my word. It's like, oh, thank you, Jesus. And I'm good. Like, but you get that from, you get that from good worship. And again, you got to bring it. I mean, you can't rely on the person up there singing to bring you. It's not a concert. You know what I'm saying? We're all in this together. You know what I'm saying? So I need good worship. Like I said in the beginning, it could be something energetic, a good beat, a choir singing. That got me in the beginning days. And the worship didn't get me as much. Like the praise got me. Now the worship gets me. The praise is just, the praise is just the praise.
The praise is not important, just the worship is.
I ain't say hold on. That's not put that on the airwaves. Don't put that on the airwaves. I don't want that on the airwaves. The praise is important.
Gotcha.
Worship you get to go in on the worship. You know what I'm saying?
See how easy it is, just somebody's words. You see how easy that is? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I won't put that out there in the
airwaves. Denise, go ahead. What's yours?
So for me, like since I've been in the church my whole life, as a kid, it was kind of, could I always understand what the pastor was talking about? Like, could you explain this to a child? Like, do you understand what you're preaching about to explain this to a 6, 7-year-old, 8-year-old child? And that was kind of like, okay, I understood this. And then after that, it was also, is there a children's ministry? Is there like kids my age that, or even somebody teaching to my age group that I could understand the word of God and not just thou art thy holy one, but is a 6-year-old going to understand that at that time? And then the worship too, that was also a big one, but definitely catering to a child or a young adult or a teenager was like the biggest thing for me.
Gotcha. Good. Mm-hmm. So for me, outside of the word being taught and preached, it definitely was the experience of the entire worship experience, from the music to like the entire gathering from start to finish. So again, growing up, as a child, teenager, you're just kind of like, hey man, like if you were in church your whole life, which I was, you're just you're taken to church, and then you develop your own relationship eventually. If you didn't grow up in that, you may not be sure what you're looking for. So whatever draws you in, right? So, but for me, it's the entire experience of it. Number one, I mean, I do want to be, taught and be able to grow in my walk as I continue on this journey. And if I feel like I'm hitting a ceiling, or I feel like it may be time to move on based on whatever, then okay, that's great. But I also want to be somewhere where the entire worship experience is something that's great and wonderful. And again, I'm not looking for like the A+. I'm just looking for, hey, where is it that he wants me to be, or me and my family to be, and go from there. But musically, I mean, I'm a musician, so music is it's highly important to me in general. But it's not like, oh man, like, well, down the street they're doing it better. It was like, well, where are you supposed to be? And then at the same time, like, doing it better may not mean that the experience is better. It's just maybe you're just better skilled. But are you, I mean, I'm just, throwing that out there because you just have to see, like, there's a whole lot of people that like to have questions about things, and you're drawing certain things out of our flesh, but I think out of our spirit is really where we're kind of we get drawn at, So other than that, didn't want to try and get deep there. It wasn't really deep, but I went from the flesh to the spirit. So anyway, whatever. Any last words before we end out today? I know we kind of talked a little on the spiritual side today, but it's all good. We do it from time to time. So any last words?
I got for my hip hop heads out there that are like me, and you want to, you might have changed your life and turned your life around, and you want to hear some good hip hop. It's a crew called God Over Money, and they got an album out called Us Against the World. That album is amazing. Like you'll get, and this is what I realized too. When it's not necessarily it's when the beat's made originally from a vessel that's saved, and it's not trying to mimic the world. All good. The beat could be, the beat could make you want to do whatever. But if it's made an original beat from a saved vessel that's following the Lord, the song's fire. You know what I'm saying? But if you're mimicking something and trying to sound like something, that's what it comes off as. But that's my suggestion for the hip hop heads who may be listening. I don't know.
Yeah, I've heard of that group and that album. So I mean,
yeah.
Say, is that Bizzle?
That's Bizzle.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Dayton.
Yeah.
Yep. A guy named Bump. Yeah, they're pretty good. They have a girl in the crew that's nice.
Okay.
She's nice.
Okay.
But it's like it's just good. It's good hip hop, especially if you like old 90s hip hop like I like it. I'm a 90s guy, so the boom bap.
That was a good year.
Yeah. That's like when you talked about cross movement. Like that was so when they first came out, I'm like, okay, so this is a little different from what I've been.
Right.
This is a lot different
Right.
than what they've been putting out there. So
they were cross movement was like
they
I
were
remember
amazing.
first hearing them, they were amazing. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh,
They
I
were
was like, I
amazing.
love God after this. But KB was like
It can happen that way.
Yeah,
It can happen
and I
that
was
way.
like, how
It makes you
is
feel like you're not like I'm not a weirdo or I don't know
Right.
why I like this and nobody in church likes it but me.
Right.
I'm different. And then they come out, it's like, oh, okay. People like me.
But KB, I definitely suggest him. He's a
Okay.
very great lyrical artist. He has some great albums and great music to listen to about the kingdom, but he puts his nice spin on it. So
I agree.
mhm.
I don't have any of his album, but I mean, I'm on Spotify and I got some stuff. So I hear stuff and I'm like, KB, he's a different cat. So I like his stuff he puts out, especially when he mixes again those like Hillsong kind of songs, and then he comes in and he raps. I'm like, that's how we doing. I'm like, okay. I guess for me, everybody's dropping hints. So I guess I'll drop a few. I'm not the hip hop guy, though I do listen. But if you're looking for just some good new heaven-filled, I would say, worship or just music in general, I would suggest Draylen Young is a guy I've listened to a lot lately. Anyone who's kind of in that apostolic movement. I've listened to a lot of apostolic movement music lately. So Draylen Young's been one I got hung up on probably like the past, I don't know, like 6 or so months. And so there's a couple more out there, but if you look up Draylen Young, you'll see a number of other people pop up that are new to me that I kind of got put on probably in the last month or two. So look up Draylen Young and check him out. He's good for, and again, this is not for hip hoppers, but the hip hoppers want some nice, different kind of worship music. Look up Draylen Young, and then you'll see some other stuff pop up as well. Another guy too, from some years ago, but he's been someone I listen to too is PJ Putnam. PJ Putnam. If you ever haven't heard of him, he actually was on Israel and New Breed's album live. I'm sorry, not Live in Asia. Yes, Live in Asia.
South
No,
Africa.
Live in Asia. Live in Asia.
Asia.
And a couple of his songs Israel did on that album, and actually PJ Putnam was actually playing in the band on the album. So another one too. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he has some Hispanic roots. So and him and Israel kind of almost sound alike. Like they have like the same almost kind of style and voice as well. So that's for you guys out there. All right. So all of us here at the Fair Money Podcast continue to think it, speak it, and achieve it. I hope this was a value-filled podcast for you. And again, You can always check us out at F of M podcast at frameofmindinc.com or send us an email. If you want to give us a call, you can give us a call at 302-689-3499. And the podcast is available video-wise on our Facebook page, F of M Podcast, on our YouTube page, Frame of Mind Inc. Frame of Mind Inc. YouTube channel, and on my personal LinkedIn page on LinkedIn. And the audio version is available on our website, which is fofmpodcast.com, and almost pretty much anywhere where podcasts are broadcast audio-wise for you to listen on whatever platform you choose to listen on. So again, thanks for listening. See you guys next time. And until then, myself, and the niece, we holla. Thank you for joining the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. And as always, here at Frame of Mind Inc., think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. As our tagline says, think it, speak it, achieve it. See you next time.
It's a frame of mind. It's what you say and what you do.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.frameofmindinc.com, where you can browse our online apparel store, listen to some of our original music and production services, as well as view our videos and projects we've done for our clients and customers.